Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Do you look older than you really are? Do you know what's causing it? I'm Rod Laughlin. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And if you're watching our show today on YouTube, really appreciate if you have not subscribed to consider to subscribe to both the USA Global TV and Radio Network and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. We truly appreciate it. Our show is seen on over 14,000 times that we've had shows on here, and they go to over 60 countries. So it's a very prolific and widely distributed network. Okay, let's move on to where I need to go. Get my first slideshow lined up. There we go. Changing things out a little bit, I discovered this thing called Notebook LM, and it creates a lot of, just a lot of stuff. It's an AI program, and I discovered, well, it can make slides, it can make videos, it can make audios, it can make infographics, it can make data sets. It does a lot of things. And I've been experimenting with it. So changing things around just a little bit, decoding the biology of aging. I kind of like that title a little bit. And so I'm looking at, I have a scale, and on one side of the scale, I have the ability to repair my body. On the other side of the scale, I have the ability to damage my body. And ironically, the same things that cause damage cause repair. We're going to get into that in a lot of detail. But that's kind of a conundrum of our life. So if I want to look at it and say, what does health look like? You know, we can take a look at a football player, a weightlifter, a Olympic swimmer, a ballerina, a TV star. I mean, a lot of people we look at, they look nice, they're very fit, but are they really healthy? You know, they may have a number of issues. They may have diabetes. They have, you know, I'm blown away by the number of people that I meet periodically, and I find out after a while, well, you know, they're diabetic. They have to really watch what they're eating, or they have to take their blood sugar periodically. So we look our chronological age up until our 20s and 30s, and all of a sudden age seems to happen around 40, and then we really get inundated around 50. But what's causing all that? Let me go ahead and get more comfortable here where I can read things. So I want to go into today is what happens here during this period of time when I'm getting damage in every cell in my body every second of the day, and my body has to make all those repairs. So but health is different for everyone. Just because, you know, you're 6'4" and 245 pounds, or, you know, 4'9" and 92 pounds, your body has different demands. It has different requirements for the different hormones at different times. So looking healthy is when you're trying to get that everything in the right place, but it doesn't always look the same because we have such personalized requirements for our body, and we have to maintain our body in some level of cellular equilibrium. So about me, from an analytical perspective, a chemist, I got a bunch of degrees, a bunch of professional qualifications. Most of my engineering background has been quality assurance, reliability engineering, and logistics engineering. My mantra, my primary thought focus is you treat the cause, not the symptoms. You treat symptoms, you'll always be treating them, and the cause can get worse. The strategy part of me comes from my Navy background, 31 years, flew for 16, been to over 6 countries. I got an invitation to Vietnam early in my military career, an invitation to Bosnia at the end. uh, written a bunch of books, published a bunch of books, uh, distinguished Toastmaster, lots of things in the communication world. Here, literally, in just a couple of weeks, been married for 58 years. We got 2 kids, 3 grandkids, and 1 great grandson who's 2.5 now. From a disclaimer perspective, awareness and education. Everything I do on this show, Talking Heads, is for awareness and education. It does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If I reference something today or anytime, it's in the context of being scientific research. And again, if you have a problem, don't just willingly accept something I'm saying. Talk to a professional, your doctor, your pharmacist. Just don't go do something, especially if you're taking prescription meds or you're under doctor's care. Okay, getting back to our biological ledger as such. When damage exceeds the ability of our body's repair capability, we're going to accumulate damage. We're going to have a higher risk of disease. We're going to have accelerated aging. And I mentioned earlier, the things that cause that damage cause our repair capability to get better. Kind of an interesting two-edged sword there. So I look at it as a cellular tug of war. The cells down there are getting damaged, they're getting repaired, they're getting damaged, they're getting repaired. And a lot of things like your DNA, there's about 5 or 6 different mechanisms that a DNA gets hit by a free radical. There's a little blurb in the thing and it needs repair. Well, there's, depending on the kind of damage that's happening to your DNA, the pathway for repair may be this one or that one or this one. So you have a lot of things that are going on with regard to your body's ability to repair things, but the same thing on the other side. There's just so many different ways of damaging it. There's not one pathway for disease and one pathway for aging. There are multiple ones, and that's what you need to be aware of. These are the biological control panel of your life. You have nutrition, your diet, how often you eat, et cetera, the kinds of things. Exercise was, I mentioned it, I think in my book, or at least I mentioned it to a couple of people. I was not aware at the exercise is great. In fact, it provides far more stability to your body, your health, than a lot of things, a lot of people would give credit to, because we just don't know what it does. But exercise is not only important, it's super critical. Stress management probably cuts across just about every known way that damage can occur. There's some level of stress that can be in there because of inflammation. Your body repairs itself only in deep sleep. So you need good quality sleep. And the environment you live in, how good is the air, the water, the noise, the toxins, everything. So these are the things that you control, and this will determine your health and your age. I call this thing the Goldilocks zone. Why? Because in the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, you had a bed there that was too hard, another one was too soft, and one that was just right. So if I go with one side, underdoing things, it's too hard. Or maybe I should say overdoing it's too hard. And underdoing it's too soft. But there's a Goldilocks zone right in the middle that says, this bed is just right. So if I have my optimal repair deal, has bumper rails that says I want to stay in this zone. So if I'm underdoing it, I'm exercising, I say only when you're being chased by a bear. Other than that, you're not getting off the couch or couch potato. And you end up with cellular damage, more damage, more damage, more damage. If you're overdoing it, I'm working out three hours a day. I'm running, 15 miles, whatever it may happen to be. It doesn't matter what it is, but you're overdoing it. Again, damage, more damage, accumulated damage. So the extremes create a deficit in the sense, if you're looking at a ledger. So if I can maintain my Goldilocks zone, I'm going to be a very, very, very happy camper, because that's where life is enjoyable. I'm looking at 4 things on the left. These are my lifestyle choices. I'm looking at the middle one, the green there, the Goldilocks zone. So if I'm under correcting, I'm choosing the wrong quality foods. I'm getting foods that have a lot of toxins and other additives to it. I'm exercising only when I absolutely have to be. Uh, my stress, I'm in denial, and I'm not stressed. It's just, yes, you are. Or if I'm one of these kind of guys, party, party, party. It just, you catch your sleep when you can, but or you drink until you fall asleep, or you eat until you can't. Just there's just so many things that we do wrong that we could do better. We know we're doing them wrong, but we do them anyway. And the other side of the extreme is I'm eating too much, but maybe I'm eating 5 times a day. When you start eating more often than not and you're eating too much, that becomes an issue, a major issue. If I'm exercising just I'm so tired I can't go anymore because I really want to look good. What your mind is telling you something you don't need to hear. If I'm constantly overwhelmed, I can't manage my stress. That's another issue. Sleep, yeah, can you get too much sleep? Yeah, actually you can. But the 7 to 9 hours for most people, again, that's in that middle zone, 7 to 9 hours. Can you get by with less and still be healthy? Yeah. Can you get by with 10 or 11 hours and still be healthy? Yeah. Because it's a deep sleep that allows you to have time to repair your body. So if I'm on my Goldilocks zone, I'm getting the right kind of nutrition. There's 30, 31 different nutrients my body needs every day. If I cut back 15, 20, 25% on my caloric intake every day, it's called caloric restriction. That actually, for animals, it makes them live longer. They don't have near the end of life health issues. It's like a magic switch. Fasting, I do a 72-hour fast every month. Fasting allows your body to open a particular program called autophagy, where your cells are cleaned out, the cell components, if they need recycling, are done. There's a lot of things that fall in that category of diet, nutrition, eating. Exercise. Exercise does a lot of things, but one of the things that I think is probably most important is not only does it make you stronger, but mitochondria are the power plants of your body. So let's say you have a cell and there's a 1,000 mitochondria in there. If I'm exercising regularly, maybe today there's 1,000, tomorrow there's 1,200, next month there's 1,500, a month after that there's 2,000. Exercising adds to your cells additional mitochondria. It's called, and it's you're ending up with more power than you had before. Stress, again, stress kind of cuts across just about everything out there. It has fingers that interweave all over. So if I'm managing my stress, doing a lot of things, maybe I need to change my routine periodically so I'm not kind of stuck in one mode. And sleep, sleep sometimes it's hard to go to sleep. Sometimes it's hard to wake up. Sometimes you're if you're sitting there on your cell phone until you go to sleep, you have blue light. If you're watching TV, you're getting that disturbed, especially if the TV stays on and you fall asleep. Is the hygiene in your room, the temperature, the amount of lights, lots of things that are there that can affect your sleep. If I'm looking at my inputs off to the left, I have my diet and my stress management, my exercise and all that. So that's my input. If I can stay in the green zone, the Goldilocks zone, I'm a happy camper because that is really and truly what I need to do. So I got awareness, I have action I'm actually taking, I'm consistent. So I'm going to have, I have mastery over my biological ledger of being able to maintain health and age as slow as I can. But now all of a sudden, if one or two or three of these things on the left-hand side, my inputs, start to fall off because life happens, any number of things can throw it out of whack. Now all of a sudden, I end up with a tug of war. Goldilocks is no longer happy because I now have more damage occurring than I should, and my body can't handle it. That tug of war is going to go back and forth. Maybe a few hours today, damage is going to win. Later on tonight, repair is going to make up for it, and I'm going back and forth. But so long as that accumulated damage doesn't build up, and I never work it off, by your repair kits can't handle that pile of damage over there. Now that becomes an issue. That becomes a problem. Of my risk of disease increases, and my aging accelerates. And I think this is the last slide coming up for today. We're going to move to another slide set right after commercial. So aging is not one cause. It's actually multiple interconnected causes. We're going to look at that here very, very quickly. So if I'm looking at what these things are, where can I find them? Well, my book, Aging Sucks, comes out July 4th. I say end the guesswork because in there you will be informed as to what causes that. We're going to talk literally next slide exactly what causes the damage. And because you have the ability to change your daily choices, your daily actions, you actually have hope. So my book is released July 4th. It will be published, and I'll have a webinar series probably coming up in September. And with that, I'm going to end this one. We're going to go to commercial break.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
First time commercial has been seen. I'm happy with it. Very, very happy. Had an opportunity to get a movie trailer for my book, and I'm pretty proud of it. Thank you very much, USA Global TV and Radio Network. Great job done there. Let me get my second slideshow lined up here so we can continue on. We're going to talk about the hallmarks of health. So I'm going to make that just a little bit bigger. Okay. There's a number of hallmarks. There's actually 12 of them, and these are things that happen at the fundamental level in our bodies, a molecular level. Chemical processes are going on, and when this particular chemical process goes on, maybe you lose some level of communication or some level of clarity or some level of understanding or a different level of repair capability. The damage occurs different because there's different causes, and there's a dozen different ones. I chose 8 of them today to say, because of the time, I wasn't sure how we're going to handle this. So we're going to do 8 today, and depending on how that works out, next week we'll talk about the other 4 and maybe the 9 causes of health. But if I'm looking at these things, I have mitochondrial dysfunction. I have genomic, and each of these things has a common name. In my book, I said, here's the technical name, but here is the plain English version. So throughout the book, when I have something that's really technical, I throw in a plain English version saying, here it is. And the same thing in the glossary. I try to keep things down to a level that a 7th grader could easily understand. That's my whole purpose. So I have these things, each one of them, plus another 4, are creating damage, all interrelated. If I have something down here called cellular senescence, that's zombie cells. That's when a cell is supposed to die and it doesn't. Now it's out on its own. It's not there. Your immune system can't handle it. It's creating a lot of inflammation. A lot of things are going on that really need attention. And it's just a sticky wicket out there that's causing problems. I can't do something. So we have the ability to control that. So let's go ahead and start looking at some of these things individually. So if I'm looking at what's a term called homeostasis, that's balance. That's stability, internal stability. So our bodies have a requirement to repair the damage that's there, and that's the way we're built. But when we are looking at our biology, we have 2 things that go on. Pretty much, they're not necessarily in a tug of war, but they're sort of in a balance. I have a growth segment of my life, and I have a repair segment of my life. I repair things when I'm asleep, and I have the ability to really go deep into repair if I do certain things. And that's when I fast and I get into autophagy or exercise. So long as I can handle, my body has the ability to handle that damage that accumulates, I'm a happy camper. But what happens if I can't? Lots of things are going on. I want to clear out the damage, but my body can't handle it. The damage accumulates too fast, or the potency of my repair capability just isn't what it used to be. Now I end up with not only damage occurring, I have waste accumulating, I have components of my cells that need retrofitting or recycling or repair, and it doesn't happen. And that becomes a problem because, 1 or 2 days, probably not a big deal. Go out and have a nice party on the weekend. Great time, drank too much, ate too much, stayed up too late. We can fix those. That's not a big deal. It's the problem that when you do it over and it's like come home, have a beer. Okay. But that extra 6-pack or 2 of beer you have that night, that's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. Metabolic conflict, growth versus repair. I have what's called mTOR. mTOR is mammalian or mechanistic. They've changed the word back and forth. The target of rapamycin. It controls our growth. We feed it. We have excess calories, high insulin. Those are the things that are there. But I'm staying in a growth mode. So if I'm eating 6 small meals a day, I never get out of a growth mode. So if I look at historical humans, they may be able to eat for a week, and then there's famine for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But today, we have the ability to eat 24/7 if we had the ability to stay awake that long. So the problem is I'm in a growth mode biologically from a cellular level in my body without repair. On the other side, if I look at intermittent fasting, if I look at some level of exercise, I had the ability to turn on and activate something's called AMPK. There's other ones there with that. But I also activate what's called autophagy. And autophagy is the body's self-cleaning mechanism. So I equate it to a trash truck that goes by down your bloodstream, knocks on every single cell door, says, what you got? Okay, so it takes out all the cellular debris, the trash, the garbage. The whole cell is now clean. But when it looks around and says, oh, you got a couple of things that aren't working so well. So the recycle truck comes up. Okay, let's take and repair those. Let's recycle them. Now, all of a sudden, autophagy has given that cell a brand new lease on life. Everything is clean. Everything is working well. So to me, one of the best things to have is I do a 72-hour fast every month. Sometimes it's 100, 150 hours. But that gives my body the ability to clean every cell in the body and support a good, healthy life. So if I can clean out everything, keep it going, great. Okay, one of the first of the 12 hallmarks of aging is called deregulated nutrient sensing. I call it a broken metabolic thermostat. In other words, I have a place where I should be, but maybe it's registering too high and I don't know about it. But what happens is, in this particular case, I'm trying to sense nutrients because these are the calories and nutrients, the things that I need every day in every cell. But for whatever reason, I'm not reading them properly. So I have energy signals that are coming in. I have calories. I have the amino acids, the proteins, but I lose the ability to detect an overabundance of them. So they remain locked in growth mode. That mTOR thing is in constant use. And so even if I wanted to repair things, I can't, because everything is forced into that growth mode. So I'm looking over here at my fuel sensor. So I'm keeping everything over to the right. If I want to move my Goldilocks zone, I need to be in the center where I can actually float back and forth rather than being maxed out in one end. So I have constant food intake, again, which is controllable. It signals constant growth signaling for my mTOR. I end up with reduced repair because autophagy is not allowed to happen very long. So I end up with damage accumulation. I end up maybe weight gain, insulin resistance, obesity, fatigue, accelerated visible aging, blood sugar issues, lots of things that can go on there. Okay, let's see if I can stick to the next one. Okay. Disabled macrotophagy. Macrotophagy and autophagy are basically the same thing. It's just two different words, but they mean the same thing. I call it broken cleanup and recycling. In other words, I have a recycling system. I have a cleanup system, but they're broken. I can't access them. I start building up garbage, but I can't get rid of the garbage. I can't repair the stuff that needs to be repaired. So when that starts to happen, I end up with inflammation happening. So when the garbage starts to overfill, in other words, think about your house. If you never took trash out, everything is delivered to the front door. All your food comes in, your water's delivered. Now I end up with 1,000 extra water bottles in the house that are empty. I end up with all the old pizza cartons. They're stacked in the closet because I can't. You just end up with too many things. You can't move around. The TV breaks. I can't leave the house. I can't get my TV repaired. So whatever I'm doing, I can't live in a clean, wholesome environment from a cellular perspective. So some of the symptoms there, sarcopenia. That's when you start losing loss. I start losing a little bit of muscle balance there, hanging off of my arms, fatty liver disease, shortness of breath, infections that just linger and linger and linger. A lot of things are happening, and that's caused by not being able to get my body cleaned up and recycled properly. Stem cells, one of our main repair mechanisms. We have kidney cells, lung cells, brain cells. Each one of those cells has a function within the kidney, within the lung, within the brain. They are programmed to do certain things in those areas. Well, a stem cell doesn't have any programming. It has I'm going to call it maybe a get out of jail free card. Whenever it needs to get out of jail, it will go anywhere and do anything it needs to do. So if I have a need for a kidney cell, the body's going to determine that. It's going to activate the stem cell. The stem cell is going to go into the liver, into the kidney, and the program is going to be added to that stem cell, and it's going to start performing like a kidney cell. So it's what we have is I have a way of building it up. And interestingly enough, the same things that control our damage and control our repair also control the amount of stem cells I have in my body. So if I'm eating right, exercising right, managing stress, good quality sleep, I'm going to keep my reservoir of stem cells high. But as inflammation starts to occur, stem cells decline, I don't have the repair capability or capacity I used to, that generates more inflammation. I end up with a lot of down the road problems. Osteopenia, osteoporosis don't occur overnight. These are things that take decades to happen. Something that used to heal literally in 3, 4, 5 days, you're still wearing a Band-Aid 2 weeks later. My immune system is challenged. So I end up with a lot of issues that could have been prevented, but they're still addressable. They're not total loss. Epigenetic alterations. Interesting word, epigenetic. I call it gene switching programs. Every gene you have came from your parents, but it wasn't necessarily that you got the gene, you got the program also. And ironically speaking, your mitochondria, they have their own DNA, and that DNA comes from your mom. So whatever your mom's DNA was, you inherit that one. But the other ones become a combination of it. So you end up with a gene. A gene is a little chemical tag that's on your DNA, and it's either on or off. Well, that on or off switch can be controlled by the choices you make every day, the food you eat, the exercise you do. So sometimes a gene is turned on when it shouldn't be, and that's when you start suffering things. So when you have what's called epigenetic alterations, these chemical tags, these markers, regulate whether they're turned on or off. But if I end up with let's call it a software error, and when that software error occurs, I start having what's called cellular amnesia. I don't know what to do. Okay, it's turned on, but I don't see the thing that's supposed to happen. So what's going on? It's a wrong place, wrong time kind of situation. And so now instead of supporting your kidney, your lung, your brain, it's not. And so I end up with overactive inflammatory situations. I get suppressed regeneration. Just a lot of issues are happening because the genes aren't working the way they're supposed to work. Because epigenetically, in other words, we have genes, genetic, but epigenetic means outside of that, our ability, our daily lifestyle choices. That's what controls those. So altered intercellular communication, I call it signaling breakdown. On the left-hand side, the green one there, I have everything working as exactly the way it's supposed to be. I'm healthy. I'm in that Goldilocks zone. Boom, boom, boom. Right signals are getting there. They're being sent out. Everything is good. But now all of a sudden, ever been in a office building or someplace where the fire alarm goes off and it just stays on forever? Or maybe at your house, you end up with some extra smoke and your smoke alarm goes off and you can't get the smoke cleared out long enough. You go into panic mode because that noise is just very disturbing, and it's persistent. It's just, so I end up with delayed responses, distorted responses, wrong responses. They get to the target and there's a mismatch. So I end up with a major communication breakdown. The body doesn't know what to do when it needs to do it. So if I can fix that again with the diet and exercise and stuff, those are the things. So it's not a single loss because the signals are there. They're just confusing signals. And so the body doesn't act as if there's no signals. It gets a message saying, do this, but that's not what you need to have done at this time. So it's operating on misinformation, disinformation. Dysbiosis, that's your gut, unhealthy gut. In a good world, you have your gut lining keeps everything nice and healthy. It allows nutrients to pass through the gut lining, goes through your immune system, goes into your bloodstream. Now everything is there. You get the right nutrients to the right parts of the body. But if I don't have my fiber, if I don't have you have probiotics that provide live mechanisms into the body. You have prebiotics, which are kind of like a fertilizer for the probiotics. You also have postbiotics, which are parts of the body that actually produce what's called short-chain fatty acids. And these help from the other end of the spectrum. So I have help coming in from probiotics to give me the right balance. I have help coming in from prebiotics because now I'm providing the right food and fertilizer. But on the end of the deal, I have postbiotics that provide that extra level of protection to keep inflammation tamped down. But in dysbiosis, I have holes in my gut lining. It's called leaky gut. It really activates the immune system because if it's really constant all the time, because I'm eating all the time, now I get into what's called systemic inflammation. My whole body is inflamed. And that can end up in a number of different malfunctions. From the stomach perspective, IBS, IBD, severe bloating, chronic fatigue, eczema, brain fog, depression. A lot of issues. Your gut and your brain have a major communication channel. So if your gut is upset, your brain is probably going to have some level of disbelief also. Telomere attrition. Telomere is, I call it shortened DNA end caps. At the end of your DNA, you have what's called a telomere. And every time that one DNA becomes two DNA, it replicates as part of its job. You lose just a little bit of the end cap. Okay, they have a thing called the Hayflick limit. So 61, I think, is a guy. Hayflick came out and said, okay, the cells, generally speaking, can replicate 40 to 60 times. So what causes the difference? Well, if you're obese, you have diabetes, you have chronic heart failure, you have kidney disease, these things become issues. They become an issue because now instead of losing that much on a telomere when it replicates, now you're losing that much. So instead of having 60 replications before the cell dies, now you only have 40 or less. So typically you get to the end. I have a nice program 60 cycle. I get there. The last one happens. I can't use it anymore. The cell has a program. It's called apoptosis. Boom, you're dead. Not ever common. That's not always true. We'll see in the next slide. So I end up with shortened telomeres. It should have caused a program to activate that didn't. So I ended up with less cells dividing. In other words, I shortened life, less repair, more damage. So I end up with increased accelerated aging, a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, more of an immune system that's challenged. Lots of things are happening just because I chose things with regard to exercise, stress, sleep, and food that shorten the number of replications that a cell in my body can have. Zombie cells, one of my more favorite topics. cellular senescence. So I get that cell, it's programmed, let's say for 60 replications. Gets to number 59, 60 is the last one. There's a little program that says, okay, now end your life, apoptosis. And the vast majority of them do. Boom, immune system takes the dead cells out. But when that cell doesn't die because of some of these hallmarks of aging cause this zombie cell to do it, so it's called cellular senescence. Now I have a zombie cell out there, and it's biologically, metabolically active, and they radiate inflammation. Anything they bump into and touch becomes damage. So now you have a new damage mechanism in your body. So I have this senescent cell that's inflammatory, that's corrupting the healthy cells around it. So now the healthy cells become corrupted. Now I end up with more senescence. And it's just a cascading effect that becomes difficult to control. Sometimes your immune system can get that. And the zombie cells are again, it's not something you cannot control. The kinds of things you choose to do every day control the level and the removal of the zombie cells. So if you start finding yourself, oh, I used to be able to run for an hour. Well, I can't do that anymore. Maybe I can't even run for a half hour. I ended up with pain, stiffness, can't remember stuff. No matter what I do, I can't get any stronger, any better, any faster. These are kind of warning signs that you might have an overabundance of zombie cells. So if I'm looking at this thing from I call it a vicious cycle of aging, one of them doesn't work all the time. They activate other ones. So if I get zombie cells, I'm going to have problems with something else. If I have the inability to clean up my cells, I'm going to have a problem somewhere else. If I have inflammation, I'm going to have lots of problems other places. Stem cell decline, again, not being able to repair. These plus the other four that I don't show on here, these are the problems that are occurring because all of them are working independently, but they're also interconnected. And so it's just not one cause that's creating a problem for your body. It's multiple causes. And if they become really overpowering, now you start having a cascading effect that is really, really difficult to control. If I want to look at it from the 8 things across the top that we're talking about today, the nutrient sensing, et cetera, across the top. Okay, if I look at my nutrition, my time restricted eating, my fasting, okay, that obviously takes care of nutrient sensing and cleaning up my autophagy. If I'm fasting, I activate autophagy. But it also affects senescence. In other words, affects means has a control over it. If I'm doing high intensity interval training, resistance training, that builds stem cells. It controls that epigenetic issue we talked about earlier, and also has a control over your zombie cells. If I'm getting the right kind of nutrition, right kind of fiber, now I'm maintaining better control over misinformation, disinformation that's being communicated through the body. And I'm also getting a very good, healthy gut, which means if I have a healthy gut, I probably have a healthy mind. Sleep and stress management, that gives me the ability now to calm down and manage inflammation, communication, and other things in the body. Aging is not a fixed destiny. It's the loss of control of how our bodies are biologically programmed to work. So if I can manipulate my metabolic symbols by my daily choices, I can shift my biological seesaw from progressive damage to active repair. And voila, we're right here toward the end of the show. Let me go ahead and get myself back to here where we're looking good. My next show will pick up where we left off today. We'll cover the rest of the other 4 hallmarks of aging. We'll pick up the hallmarks of health, those things that actually enhance your ability to increase your repair capability and capacity. My book, Aging Sucks, comes out July 4th. I'll keep you advised of that. The book is written. Everything looks good. I just have a couple of tweaks when my beta readers give it back to me. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed my first movie trailer of my book today. I'm ecstatic about it. It's something I really thank the USA Global TV and Radio Network for doing. I'm going to leave you with that, and you all have a wonderful time, and I will catch you next week. Bye, y'all.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Every great story begins with a vision. At USA Global TV and Radio for years, we've been providing world-class education, entertainment, inspiration, imagination, connections, and hope. Most people don't stay to watch the outro or the credits, but it's the people behind every success, behind every breakthrough, and behind every unforgettable story who matter. The TV show hosts, our guests, our sponsors, our publicists, our production team, our distribution team, our search engine optimization team, and so many more. You're the ones who make the difference. Every great story belongs to the people who bring it to life. Our future looks bright at USA Global TV and Radio, and that's because of you, our loyal fan base all around the world in more than 60 countries. Together, we're making a difference because you matter. USA Global TV and Radio, live streaming to over 60 countries. Voiceover, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Video production and direction, Paul Garcia. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.